Your body can't manage blood sugar as well around menopause as estrogen declines.
If you're starving yourself, you're doing extreme long duration cardio exercise, your body will start to break down muscle and bone.
Another mistake you want to avoid is following either an exercise-only approach or a nutrition-only approach. As you get older though, you lose around 1% muscle per year from age 30 onwards.
A lot of people struggle to invest in themselves when it comes to their health, their fitness, their body. Hello and welcome to the Trinity Fit Over 40 podcast with me, Rob Burkhead.
And me, Ben Hughes. We are the co-founders of Trinity Transformation and creators of the Fit Over 40 method. And together with our world-class coaching team, we have helped more than 7,000 women over 40 to fit back into their favorite clothes over the past decade. To find out more about what we do, go to www.fit40info.com.
So in today's podcast, we're going to reveal the 5 mistakes that are stopping you from being able to see progress, specifically as a woman over 40 or a woman going through menopause. So let's get into it. The first one that we see, and this is all based on our experience having worked with over 7,000 women, spoken to thousands more women who were stuck. The first one that I want to cover is, it's a classic on our podcast, but it's still doing the same things you used to do, whether it was in your 20s, whether it is in your 30s. It could be running, it could be spinning, it could be just trying to eat a little healthier, it could be counting calories. But the key thing to understand here is what worked then isn't necessarily going to work now. Your body is fundamentally different and it will never be the same again. And that might sound really kind of frustrating. Some people can feel like, oh, maybe I'm just past it. It's not that. It's just different. And if you learn and know how to work with it, you can still see great results. So the key changes that are happening, and there's a lot of changes, but what tends to happen is estrogen and progesterone levels start to fluctuate. And these fluctuate as your body starts producing less and less eggs and releasing less eggs. And this then means from your late 30s or early 40s, some people who are lucky, this might be mid 40s, but for a lot of people, it's late 30s, early 40s. You start to get a lot of changes start to happen. You also get a drop in testosterone, which is often seen as a male hormone, but females have it too, that's happening at the same time. So there's a lot of hormonal changes happening around this period called perimenopause, which is the run up to menopause. And it can happen a lot earlier than most people think. We have a lot of clients who think, oh, I'm too young for perimenopause, but it can happen in your 30s or early 40s. And what this affects is, well, it affects a lot of things, but a couple of key things when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to health, when it comes to fitness are, first of all, your body's ability to deal with stress. We could call this stress resilience. And this isn't just stress from like work. This is stress you put on your body, which can come from exercise, it can come from eating, as well as all the other stresses in your life, like work, like disrupted sleep, which can happen around menopause, like family stress. And it typically is all going on at once. The body's ability to deal with this is less effective. And also people tend to have more and more stress in their life around this time. We see it a lot with our clients. They're in this sandwich generation where they're caring for aging parents. They might actually having to look after a parent, might have to do lots of hospital trips or see them in their house and do things for them. They may also have children, even if they're more grown up, who still require care and attention and, can cause a lot of stress. And the body's ability to deal with the stress is less good. And then if you add on a load of other stuff, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, but like really stressful exercise or really extreme dieting, you can push it over the edge. So the first thing that you need to understand is the body cannot buffer stress so well. And the best way to imagine this is kind of like a bucket. And the bucket is your body's capacity to deal with stress. And pre-perimenopause, so this is typically in your 20s and early 30s, that bucket's quite big. You can tolerate a lot of stress. You can push really, really hard and you can get away with it. Post this period, so from perimenopause onwards and for the rest of your life, as estrogen drops, that's the key thing that helps you to buffer stress. This bucket gets smaller. So you can't tolerate so much stress without causing issues. And I won't go into them today, but it tends to lead to more weight gain, makes it harder to lose weight due to changes in satiety hormones, changes in metabolism, a number of different things in terms of blood sugar management as well. So these changes in hormones affect a lot of things. And they also affect your muscle and bone, your ability to retain muscle and retain bone. And muscle is what makes you firm and toned, but it's also what makes you strong, kind of obvious, but it's what keeps your metabolism firing on all cylinders. It keeps your metabolism fast. So if you start to lose muscle, it's quite a problem for maintaining your weight, because you don't have this faster metabolism to enable you to get away with more. And then the last thing is this bone retention. And if you lose bone, it's really, really problematic as you get older. It can cause osteopenia or osteoporosis. And that's very, very dangerous. So there's a lot of things these hormonal changes affect that you didn't need to worry about before, and you really need to worry about now if you want to age well. And what it means is the things that used to work won't work anymore. So extreme exercise and diet, they're not going to work. They're going to push stress over the edge. Your body can't buffer it anymore. And they're also going to lead to muscle and bone loss. So if you're starving yourself, you're doing extreme long duration cardio exercise, your body will start to break down muscle and bone because it doesn't maintain it so well. You've got to do the right type of exercise. And then the second thing is, you can't just get away with eating what you want anymore, drinking what you want. So that, that glass of wine after a stressful day with a pack of crisps on the sofa or a bar of chocolate, you probably could get away with that before, potentially in your 20s, maybe in your early 30s. But now your body can't regulate blood sugar so well. It's going to lead to blood sugar spikes and crashes. That will give you energy slumps. It'll give you brain fog. It'll give you joint aches and pains, inflammation, weight gain. All of these things can start to happen doing exactly the same thing you used to do. And you might have noticed this. You might have noticed now I'm gaining weight doing stuff that used to work. And the little fixes I used to do to drop a few pounds aren't working. So the solution to this first point is you really need an approach that works specifically with your changing body and hormones. And it's going to be very, very different. It's got to compensate for all of these changes and work with them. And that will mean you can lose weight and you can remain healthy and strong long term. And we've got clients in their 50s, in their 60s, who are in the shape of their life, who thought it was it, thought this was all over, thought this was just going to be, just how it is now. It's all part of the aging process, but it's not. It's just about changing the approach. And we'll get into a couple more details. I know, Ben, you want to talk now about a bit more of a specific approach when it comes to exercise and nutrition and what does and doesn't work.
Yeah. So one of the approaches and one of the things you want to avoid, another mistake you want to avoid, is following either an exercise only approach or a nutrition only approach. So this might have worked in the past again. So for example, you get people who were doing loads of running or doing loads of gym classes, basically doing a lot of exercise, and could actually get away with eating basically whatever they wanted. So they could eat loads and loads of food. As long as they did loads and loads of exercise, it meant that they would still either maintain their weight or they could even lose some weight by doing that. Problem is, this doesn't tend to work well when you're older, as the body's needs are more specific. For example, protein requirement increases with age. So you need about 1.5 times more in your 40s than in your 20s, because your body gets basically less efficient at using the protein that you put in. Another change will be that your body can't manage blood sugar as well around menopause as estrogen declines. So that's going to lead to worse menopause symptoms, cravings, fatigue, aches and pains, brain fog, etc. And then all of the other changes that Rob's already talked about in the first point basically mean that just doing exercise isn't necessarily going to be enough to get you the results that you want. It's not going to work. So the other example would be the opposite of this. So eating really, really well. So a really good, really healthy diet, but not doing any exercise along with that. And again, that can work in your 20s. So typically these are going to be things like, your traditional kind of diet plan where they just tell you what to eat, eat these foods, cut these out, reduce carbs, whatever. It's some kind of diet focused approach. And that's all they really give you. And that can work in your 20s when your body maintains muscle and bone easily due to having optimal estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone levels. As you get older, though, you lose around 1% muscle per year from age 30 onwards if you're not doing the right things to compensate for it. So that muscle loss is known as sarcopenia. And what that ends up with is it's going to leave you looking like basically like a deflated balloon. So if you imagine you've pumped up a balloon, it's the type of balloon that you've had. It's a helium balloon. It's been pumped up for 3 or 4 days for a kid's party or something like that. And then it's just after being stretched out for that amount of time, it's then sort of deflated and sagged down. You get that kind of wrinkly, saggy appearance on the outside of the balloon. So that's kind of what you end up looking like, because the muscle that was giving your body that shape and that firmness and that tone all disappears. And all you're left with is bone, body fat, and skin. And that's it. And it gives you that kind of slag, that kind of saggier, kind of flabbier, weaker appearance. And not only the visual effects of that are not ideal, but also the less muscle mass you have, the slower your metabolism is, meaning as you lose that muscle, your body actually uses less calories on a day-to-day basis, meaning it's easier for you to gain body fat as a result. To add into this, you also lose 4.4% of bone per year between the age of 50 and 54. So it's quite a significant reduction in bone mass. This is something people are kind of quite concerned about. People who comment on our videos and things on social media are always asking, is this going to help me maintain bone mass, that kind of thing. And that's basically if you're not doing the right type of things to compensate. So that's going to lead to, again, osteopenia and osteoporosis. So to summarize, if you are doing loads of exercise, but you're not focusing on your nutrition, you might put in loads and loads of effort, but you might just be overstressing the body, causing your body to then basically gain body fat, whilst at the same time potentially losing muscle mass if you're not doing the right type of exercise. And then on the other side of it, if you are eating really kind of a healthy diet and also kind of reducing calories in an effort to lose weight, but you're not doing anything to maintain your muscle and bone mass, then you might well lose a bit of weight, but ultimately you're not going to end up looking and feeling better, and you're going to end up weaker, flabbier, saggier as a result, even though you've put lots of effort in. So the solution to this is you can't just do one. You must do both things. You have to exercise and you have to eat, and you have to do both of these things in the right way to counteract aging and work with your changing body and hormones. So when it comes to exercise, the key thing is strength training at least 2 to 3 times per week for about 30 to 45 minutes. And this is with heavy weights. So if you're just picking up those little 1 kilogram hand weights and just doing a load of different loads and loads of repetitions, like a body pump class or something like that, that's not going to cut it. You need to be doing a weight, which means you can do 5 to 15 repetitions. So lifting a decent amount of weight for not a huge amount of times. So that's the kind of thing you need to be doing. Strength training 2 to 3 times per week. And then the other thing is eating the right amount of the key 3. So in terms of nutrition, that's going to mean getting in the right amount of calories. So not too much, because that will cause you to gain body fat. Not too little, because if you underfeed your body, it's just going to accelerate that loss of muscle mass and loss of bone density as well, because you're probably not getting the sort of minerals and vitamins and everything that you need if you're restricting calories too much. You also want to make sure that you're eating enough protein, and that's going to help with that muscle and bone retention. And you want to make sure you're eating enough fiber, which is going to help you with your blood sugar and is going to help with your symptom regulation related to menopause as well. So yeah, to summarize, strength training and then eat the right amount of the key 3.
So the next thing that I want to talk about is really nothing to do with exercise and nutrition, because I think we talk about that a lot on this podcast. But there's a lot of other points, and actually the last 3 points are mistakes we see people making that come before those. Or you can know what to do, but putting it into action consistently is the only way you're actually going to get results. And one thing we see a lot of the time is people knowing what to do. They've listened to the podcast for ages, or they've read Ben's emails for ages, or they've studied this stuff, but they keep putting it off. They keep saying, I'll start when work is less busy. I'll start when I've got a bit more time. I'll start when I feel a bit more energetic. But the problem with this is,
imagine living in a home that you've cherished for years.
you've done your best to keep it in good condition,
But no matter how much you clean, paint, or repair,
the problems keep piling up.
the cracks are showing, the roof is leaking, and it feels like everything is getting worse despite your best efforts.
For many women, losing weight around menopause feels just like that,
You've tried diets, workouts, and advice,
where the results don't come and the frustration keeps growing.
That's where our Fit Over 40 private coaching program comes in.
Think of us as your expert renovation team.
We know exactly how to fix the root issues, rebuild your confidence, and create lasting results, just like restoring a home to its best condition.
If you're ready to finally see results that last, click the link in the description below now. Let us help you restore the body and the life you deserve. It only gets harder the longer you leave it, in our experience. It doesn't get easier. You do tend to feel, the more overweight or out of shape, or whatever word you want to call it, you get, the tireder you're going to feel, the more your body is going to be inflamed. So the less likely you're going to want to do things, the more things are going to hurt. And it's never too late either. But if you just leave it, it's only going to get worse. And the reason I say it's never too late is we've had clients start with us. So one example is Lou Marsh. She started with us having never been in what you would call great shape in her adult life. She's never been fit and healthy. Her whole family's always been overweight or obese. She openly said her body weight, her BMI, was in the 40s. It was a morbidly obese category when she joined. She was 17 stone. She was a size 22. And she was 50, going through perimenopause, working a really busy job, 60 hours a week as a forensic scientist. She had children, but she just decided enough was enough. And even though she was a size 22 and 17 stone, she was able to lose 7.5 stone. She's now maintained for the last 3.5 years at 9 stone, 9.5, size 8 to 10. And she turned all of that around. So it's never too late. And she did this despite having arthritis, having a horse trample her, so loads of her bones in her foot were broken. She had so many barriers. But if she'd left it further, I dread to think where it got to, and it just gets harder and harder. And for a lot of the people who join us, they're not at that stage. They're somewhere, in between. And they're just waiting for the right time. And I don't think there's ever a very easy time. As I said, a lot of our clients are caring for aging parents. Some of them have lost parents recently. And they take the plunge regardless. And I think it's realizing that unlike in your 20s, your body isn't just going to stay the same if you don't do anything. Your body isn't just going to maintain the same shape. It's actually now, unfortunately, either improving if you do the right things, or it's declining. It's in a state of flux always. So either you're losing muscle, you're losing bone, you're gaining fat, or you're building that bone density, you're building that muscle, you're reducing fat, and you're feeling better. And one thing that can help with this is just to think, look at the trajectory I'm on now. If I look forward and say, okay, I've gained a couple of inches around the waist, I've gained, a stone maybe more. My joints are aching, whatever the things are you have, I'm guessing. Then look ahead and say, where will I be in another 3 to 5 years? It's not going to stay the same. And every time you gain another stone, it's another 3 to 6 months. It could be up to half a year more work you've got to do. And this might sound really extreme. It might sound pushy what I'm saying, but I'm saying this because I'm very passionate about this. I want people to help them. Like, my number one piece of advice to people is don't leave it. The sooner you try and fix this problem, the easier it will be. The more out of shape or overweight or muscle they lose or bone they lose, the harder it is. And there is a point where it becomes irreversible with age. There's a point where you've lost too much muscle, too much bone. You're in such a painful, inflamed state with so many health conditions, you can't turn it around. And I don't want that for anyone. But most people, like 99% of people, they're not there. So the good thing is we can turn it around, especially if you're in your 40s or 50s or early 60s. But don't leave it till it's too late. So the sooner you learn how to work with your changing body, and then more importantly, the sooner you start taking action on all these things you're listening to, the better your chances of success and the better you're going to feel. So the next mistake we see people making is just making slow decisions. They leave it, they put it off, and this can become a bad habit. It can affect all areas of your life. If you just start making quicker decisions in all areas of life, you're going to get better results in all areas of life. So if you've been thinking about it for a while, you already know what you need to do. It's just about going ahead and doing it. So the next thing I would recommend is just to now make a decision, start taking action. If this is important to you, it's only going to get harder. So you might as well start now.
So the next mistake you might make is trying to do everything on your own. So being fit and healthy, the reality is it's not as simple as it used to be when you're younger. So if you're trying to get fit and healthy, as you said, Rob, the best time to get started is going to be now. It's never going to be too late. But if you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, it's going to be more difficult than when you're in your 20s. It just is because of the way that the body changes as you get older. And because of that, because it becomes more difficult, basically solving that problem or seeing fast results becomes more complicated. You need to have your approach. Your approach needs to be more refined in order to see the same results. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you could basically just do anything and you would see some results. In your 40s, 50s, and 60s, this isn't the case. And the difference as well is there's going to be more variation from person to person, just like there's variation from person to person in terms of things like menopause symptoms. There's also going to be more variation in terms of person to person based on your individual situation. You might need to do something that somebody else doesn't necessarily need to do in order to get you to seeing similar results. So it's taken us 10 years of working on this every single day. to figure this out. We've worked with 7,000 clients. So we've got, I can't remember how many coaches have we got in the team now, Rob? I can never remember if it's about
7,
6 or 7. There you go, 7. So along with that team of 7, we've helped 7,000 clients. A team are regularly studying the latest research, studying the most cutting edge courses about menopause and health and fitness to figure out exactly what works. So as a team, we've done all of that research, all of that hard work, all of that hands-on experience and trial and error with thousands of different clients. It's going to be 10,000 plus hours of work, research and experience. And what that means is we kind of know what to do. If somebody comes to us, it doesn't matter what problem they've got, if they're not seeing results, we can look at everything. We know the questions to ask, and we know what to look into. We know what to tweak. We know what to change, meaning that we can get them to where they want to be. We've got a very high success rate of getting people to where they want to be. So the truth is, you could figure it all out on your own. You could spend all of that time, thousands of hours doing all the research, studying, figuring it out on your own, but it might take decades. And the problem is, if you're in your 50s or so and it takes you 10 years to figure it out, then it's only going to be in your 60s when you're finally going to be able to see results and able to get to the, feeling fitter, feeling healthier, feeling better. But the key, the reality is the earlier you do this, the earlier you drop that weight you need to lose, get to your ideal weight, get to feeling fitter, healthier, get your energy levels back, boost your confidence, the more time you have to enjoy all of the fruits of that labor, and enjoy life with your family, enjoy life with your friends. So what I would recommend is find an expert who's got a proven track record for achieving results for women around menopause. There are other coaches out there who are kind of they're genetically gifted. So most personal trainers or fitness experts, genetically, they have a body which they've found quite easy to keep in good shape. Hence why they ended up being a personal trainer or a fitness expert in the first place. Most personal trainers and fitness experts haven't had to kind of work that hard and kind of figure out how to work around menopause symptoms and all those kind of things. Fitness experts, personal trainers as well, tend to have lots and lots of time to exercise and cook fancy meals. And it's easy to see, as you and I, Rob, because when you work in fitness, you're surrounded by fitness all the time. You're telling people about fitness, constantly reminding people about fitness, trying to set a good example to people in terms of fitness. So you'll find it really easy to exercise and eat well compared to somebody else because it's essentially part of your job. Whereas for a lot of the people we work with who have a very busy career, they have a demanding family life, and then fitness is kind of a separate thing to them, they're going to find it a lot more difficult. And it's like an extra thing to add on that they're going to have to learn and study and figure out the best way of doing it alongside everything else. And that can be quite difficult. And so I think there's really no harm in, there's no shame in sort of getting help with something like this. So for example, I don't necessarily get much help when it comes to what to do in terms of health and fitness, because I know what to do in terms of health and fitness. But when it comes to other things, for example, there's lots of things, looking into things like marketing and business and things like that, which are, they're like the extra thing for me, learning about business or marketing or like parenting or anything I'm not kind of already an expert in. I will be the first person to invest in an expert. I want to know, right, what courses have you got? What coaches have you got? What's going to be the quickest and easiest path to me getting that result? And I've always found time and time again, whether it's we've learned about loads of stuff in the sort of whole journey of Trinity, not only fitness stuff, but things like meditation and mindfulness and productivity and time planning and prioritization and management and marketing and sales and all of this type of stuff. But in all of those, every time we've run into those problems of, right, we're facing something which now could be quite difficult, we're not quite sure that the best way to do it, we've tended to not figure it out ourselves by spending thousands of hours getting it wrong, but we've always tended to find an expert and sort of just get their advice on how best to do that thing, so that rather than us spending years figuring it out, we can immediately sort of jump in at their kind of sort of a higher level, at that kind of expert level. So I think you'll find with losing weight, toning up, that if you get somebody else's help, they can quite easily get you results very, very quickly, but also get you up to speed with it very, very quickly. So once, for a client, for example, once we've figured out what works for a client, we can very easily tell them, right, if you just keep doing these 3 simple things, for you, this is going to be perfect. You need to do this type of workout. This is exactly what you need to do with your nutrition. These are the foods you need to eat. These are the foods you need to avoid. Just keep doing that in a sustainable way, and you'll either keep seeing results or you'll be able to maintain your results. So it's very simple when you know how, but if you don't know how, it's very hard to get to that very simple conclusion, and you can end up stuck and struggling for a long, long period of time. So this mistake would be, to summarize, don't try and do it on your own. You can try and do it on your own. I don't want to say that you shouldn't try and do it on your own. But if you want to see the fastest and best results, I would highly recommend just find someone who's already done it. Find someone with a proven track record of helping people achieve the exact results you want, and then just get their exact help and exact advice. And you will find that you see much, much quicker results, and also find it much easier to maintain those results long term as well.
And people probably instinctively know this. I think there are some people who just really struggle, like my parents-in-law, in investing in anything and anything that's not like financial. They love like stocks and the pension, but investing in themselves and something that will get them a faster result is just not really their thing. But I think a lot of people do know this, and they do it in other areas, like you said, Ben. Like, we've invested in loads of different courses in business. We've also invested in loads of different courses about menopause, health and fitness, and women's health and fitness. We've got our whole coaching team doing another brilliant course at the moment. So if you value that, then that's great. But I think people still struggle to do it when it comes to the body. And this is the final mistake, is a lot of people struggle to invest in themselves when it comes to their health, their fitness, their body. And I think it's especially, I don't want to stereotype, but it does seem to be quite common amongst the women we help that they find this difficult. And I think it's because they've been taught that it's almost selfish to do this. It's like you're putting yourself first, and they feel the pressure to spend the money on the family, on the kids. The kids are going to nice schools or will have all the latest things. I was having a discussion with a client last weekend about how she's got to buy her children iPads for their school, and school's so expensive. And it's a constant struggle keeping up with that stuff, even though she's got a very good job. And on top of that, they've treated themselves to lots of other nice things. They've got nice car, nice clothes, nice house. They go on nice holidays. They're spending thousands, if not tens of thousands of pounds a year on all of those things combined. But the one thing they're spending almost nothing on and don't want to spend too much on is the place they're living every day, which is their body. So their body doesn't feel like it used to. Their body might be aching all over. They're tired. They're lethargic. They don't feel comfortable in any of their clothes, or at least not their favorite ones. They're worrying about how they look in photos or trying to actively avoid them on holidays. They're even maybe missing out on activities. We've spoken to so many clients who went on holiday with their children and couldn't join in the holiday because they felt too big or too self-conscious or not fit or strong enough. And despite this affecting everything they do, pretty much every day, whether it's low energy, whether it's aches and pains, whether it's brain fog, all of that can be, improved massively through exercise and nutrition. So many of the women we speak to still struggle to invest in themselves. And this can come from a lot of places. It can be from self-doubt, wondering, will they be able to do it, or should they be doing that? It can be from a bit of a lack of self-worth, which can often get eroded a lot through that menopause transition, losing who they felt they were. Maybe even having to give up in their career or take a different career path because it's so difficult to keep up with the lower energy, with the brain fog and things like that. And also feeling like they should be this is air quotes here, a good mum or a good partner. So they should be spending on the family, on the relationship, on the holidays and all of those things. Yet the problem is, and we've got a great example of someone who's in this situation in a minute who turned it all around, they're also frustrated because they're not able to be the inspiring, energetic, fun parent or grandparent or partner that they want to be, or that key team player at work that shows up, with clarity of thought, solves the problems, that gets things done. And they used to be that person, and that now they feel like they're kind of wading through treacle every day, treading water furiously, trying to keep their head above the water. And we hear from so many women in this position, and it's really, really difficult. And we don't want anyone to be there, which is why we ultimately exist. And the good news is this can actually all be turned around, and much quicker than most people think. It's not an overnight fix, but within a couple of weeks, we often have people feeling miles better. And within a couple of months, a lot of the weight is already, coming off and they're moving in the right direction. So if you're in that position, I just want you to think about, it doesn't have to be a selfish endeavor. It's going to affect you, yes, but you're going to show up as the best version of you, which means you can show up for your family again as the best version of you, your partner, your children, your colleagues, and obviously for yourself as well. And if you're feeling better in yourself, everyone is impacted. And if you're not feeling good in yourself, everyone knows. No one wants to say because it's awkward and we're British, but everyone around you can know if you're snappy, if you're short-tempered, all of these different things. But look, don't just take it from me. I'm obviously biased and very, very passionate about this. But each year we have hundreds of women who do come to us in that position, not feeling like themselves anymore, not knowing that they're not really showing up as the best version of themselves, and they can turn it all around. And all of them do say one thing, which is they wish they'd done it sooner. They wish they'd heard about it sooner. I had a client who's 67 come up to me at our last event and to say, I wish I'd found out about you guys in my 40s, because it's been a real tough couple of decades. And she's in great shape now and she's turned it all around, but it's a lot later than she would have liked to do it. So Ben, I know you've got one example of someone who was in this position. So why don't you share with the listeners what happened to them?
So this is a case study we've got here from Jess Martin, who's a business owner, age 50. So she said, I was lethargic, 12 stone, 13 pounds, and approaching my 50th birthday. I was terrified that if I didn't do something now, I never would. I had a series of poor health markers, poor liver function, lupus, high cholesterol, poor sleep, and to top it off, menopause symptoms had just kicked in, leaving me with an hour of sleep a night and up to 7 hot flushes an hour, high anxiety and rage. I had been through 4 years of invasive investigations for my liver, including countless blood tests, an ultrasound, and a painful biopsy. No one could tell me what was wrong. I was arguing a lot with my partner in front of the kids. My diet was truly dreadful, and I was blaming everyone else for it. I was also very sedentary. I rarely exercised, and the kids remind me now that when we went for family walks, I was out of breath and moaning within the first 20 minutes. All in all, I was making family life miserable. I knew I wanted to lose weight, but didn't know how to do it alone, having yo-yo dieted via conventional programs for 30 years. I couldn't have picked a worse time to start Trinity. My father-in-law was in and out of hospital, dying. I also have my own aging parents with a multitude of health problems. My one staff member was diagnosed with terminal cancer, forcing her to retire immediately and leaving me her clients. The above turmoil coincided with my son's GCSEs. The menopause journey has also been challenging, starting HRT the month after starting Trinity and developed painful breast cysts which required surgery. Stress is a huge factor in my life, and I'd only ever handled it by comfort eating. But now everything has changed for the better. Yes, I've dropped 2.5 stone and 2 dress sizes and can fit back into my size 12 to 14 clothes, but that's only part of it. My confidence has skyrocketed. I was avoiding everything. Now I'm doing everything. My mindset around food and nutrition has completely changed. I now take responsibility for my food. I have learned to cook from scratch, having not really cooked in the past, and I'm enjoying it. I'm putting my own needs first before others, and the ripple effect out to friends and family has been mind-blowing and truly humbling. I walk every weekend, and sometimes the family can't keep up. They say I'm happier, less argumentative, and nicer to be around. I sleep better, and my relationship with my partner is vastly improved in every way. Plus, my liver function is back to normal. I stand in the front row at choir, and I'm happy to be seen, whereas before I was embarrassed of my size and felt awkward. I even performed at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. This year, I travelled like never before. Plus, I did the Trinity retreat in Crete and kept up with the workouts. I had to silence my inner critic who tells me I'm the fattest, slowest, and can't do this. I could, and it felt epic. So incredible story there from Jess. And if you want to find out more about Fit Over 40 and the coaching that she had to see those amazing results, head over to www.fit40info.com and you can find all of the details on that page.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal story there from Jess. And hopefully you found that inspiring. It's not too late to turn it all around. And the sooner you do, the better. So that just about wraps up for today's podcast. I hope you found it enjoyable and useful. And we will catch you next week for another episode. We will see you then. If you're fed up with trying everything and seeing no results,
Watching your weight creeping up and struggling to fit into your clothes,
and you're looking for the fastest and easiest way to get your ideal weight
and never have to worry about your weight or health again,
you can save yourself years of trial and error by letting us take care of the hard work for you in our Fit Over 40 private coaching program.
Over the past decade, our world-class team have personally guided more than 7,000 women to take back control of their health and confidence, and more importantly, maintain those results for life.
If you're ready to finally get results that last, podcast and find out how we can help you do that too, click the link in the description below to get the full details now.